Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is October 9th, and right now we are looking at the combination of Doppler radars here across the Pacific Northwest. You can see some moderate rainfall making its way towards the coastline. This front, however, has been decaying here as it's been approaching the Pacific Northwest, so we're not looking at big precipitation amounts from it, but we've got a better developed storm off the coastline here we're going to take a look at in a moment. However, there is a chance for thunderstorms extreme eastern Oregon, Idaho, and southwest Montana as we go through the day today. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the mid-level water vapor loop. You can see that next system out here. It's going to be weakening as it approaches, but it's also going to be slowing down and bringing some big precipitation amounts with it, especially the coastal ranges here and maybe some of the Cascades. We'll look at those details in a moment. And then it looks like we're going to stay active. Gulf of Alaska troughing as we go through this weekend into early next week. Some interesting systems have the potential of moving into the Pacific Northwest also. We'll take a look at those details as we go through the video. Looking at SeaTac, 69 degrees, 6 degrees above average. Lots of glorious sunshine out there yesterday. No precipitation. And look at Portland, 81 degrees again yesterday. 4 straight days of 80 plus. I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini heat wave through the early portion of October here, because we are definitely going through a pattern change. You're not going to see 80-degree days here anytime soon. This is the story of 66 yesterday, but 70 the previous and 83 on the 6th. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that warm weather, because it's definitely going away. Here we are looking at this weather station I've been talking about. If you guys want a nice affordable home weather station, click on that link down below to save 10% off. It's always much more fun to watch this crazy weather here across the Pacific Northwest when you've got a weather station to look at. Taking a look at the European, last night's run, 06Z. Here goes that frontal system. Again, kind of weakening as it moved over the Pacific Northwest. The next system will be weakening as well, but it's slower moving, and it's going to kind of hang out and bring a nice little fetch of moisture here into the Pacific Northwest. Some pretty hefty precipitation amounts at that. So nice precipitation maker there. And then as you can see, we've got the Gulf of Alaska troughing continuing here as we go on in through the weekend and on to the early portion of next week. More on that here in a moment. This is 850 millibars. Kind of showing you guys as of last night, still that warm air aloft, bringing us the nice weather here in the mini heat wave across much of the region. Frontal system moves in, and you can clearly see the cooler air moving over the area here as we go on in through Wednesday morning, shown there. So yeah, definite pattern change here rolling in, and you'll see that in some of the temperatures, especially across some of the Willamette Valley here. I mean, you might drop off by 15 degrees today. Another fairly warm day east of the Cascades, but look as we go towards tomorrow. Check it out. The entire Pacific Northwest cooling down by that point Wednesday again, and we may bounce back for a day or two as we go towards the end of the week before more systems arrive. Now, looking at the atmospheric river scale, you hear the term atmospheric river thrown out there. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a measure of the integrated vapor transport and the duration of that vapor transport over any given area from category 1 to category 5. It's not meant to scare you. It's a legitimate scientific term. And taking a look at that right now, this is the integrated vapor transport as of the GFS yesterday. You can kind of see that front decaying there. You know, we wouldn't really call that an atmospheric river here. And this one actually has a little bit more of atmospheric river classification there, even though it's not the classic Pineapple Express from the Southwest that you normally associate with atmospheric rivers, but it does kind of hang out for a while, even though it would just be a weak atmospheric river. It is going to bring some nice amounts here as we go on in through the morning Wednesday and on through the day Wednesday at that. But then we go further off or towards the weekend. You can see another decaying front making its way towards Pacific Northwest, and then look what happens on last night's GFS. Just kind of a ridiculous atmospheric river here. It's fantasy land on the GFS here. This is no doubt going to change, but it does kind of show the potential for this Gulf of Alaska troughing here, bringing some interesting values back up into the Pacific Northwest. This would be a category 5 here, folks. That hangs out on the Oregon-Washington coast for more than 36 hours and very intense integrated vapor transport flow into the Pacific Northwest. And then look at the system the GFS develops out of the Pacific Ocean here. You're talking about like what, a 930 millibar low out of the Pacific. It's purely fantasy, but it's fun to watch. And if I go ahead and back up a little bit here again, I want to show you something so you can see the development of that atmospheric river here. Let's go ahead and look at 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. Sorry about that. And now we're looking at it here, and you can kind of see the huge gradient there at 5,000 feet, that warm, moist flow out of the subtropics up towards Pacific Northwest. Classic atmospheric river signature there. And then watch this just gigantic storm out here just explode, and look at the warm tongue out ahead of this, kind of a classic signature of a mid-latitude cyclone, again pointing a powerful atmospheric river somewhere up towards British Columbia or Washington. So yeah, we could have some pretty active weather coming up here. That's purely fantasy at this point. It's kind of just entertainment and atmospheric river education. You can also see here as we go through the extent of that very deep low pressure system there. This is 500 millibars, 18,000 feet, and kind of showing that development of the system out there. But anyway, a little bit of fun there with the 06Z GFS Fantasyland. And this is the 06Z GFS on Weather Bell, and this will show you what kind of precipitation we would expect. You can see it actually doesn't even start raining today for Seattle in the latest or last night's GFS. The 12Z is running as we speak, I should mention. But anyway, it does start to show a little bit of precip coming in late tonight. And then the secondary system starts rolling in here, and you can see some of these values really get going here along the Washington-Oregon coast. Some of the Oregon Cascades, look at this, could pick up over 3 inches of rainfall, much needed. The vegetation is very dry across Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia. And then if we scroll out far enough, you'll see the development of this atmospheric river here. And look at some of the values it throws up across Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia. I mean, you're talking about 15 inches plus here in the Olympic Mountains. Purely fantasy right now, but that's 7.8 inches there for Seattle through not even 10 days. So something interesting to look at there. This is just entertainment at this point, just kind of having a little bit of fun there with the 06Z GFS as of last night. Now, this is the GFS this morning, 12Z versus that GFS 06Z of last night. And this is 18,000 feet. We're looking at general trough and ridge position here. There's that weakening frontal system. The next system comes rolling in here towards Vancouver Island. Pretty good model agreement, of course, in the short term there. Good precipitation maker for much of the area. And then you can see the next system here. It looks pretty similar. You know, you look at the 12Z here again and the 06Z on the right, and the Gulf of Alaska troughing gets going here pretty well. And you can see it's even a little bit deeper here on this morning's run actually versus last night. So yeah, pretty good model agreement here between the GFS within itself, but it's something that's still purely fantasy right now. I mean, well, it might be a little bit more confidence that the Gulf of Alaska troughing is going to be going than just a fantasy forecast. But anyway, this is something we'll be watching closely here over the next few days. This is the European yesterday afternoon. So this is a 0Z run, one we haven't looked at yet. And this is the GFS from yesterday afternoon as well. There goes an initial frontal system, secondary system, good model agreement in the short term with their nice precipitation maker going on in through Wednesday. And then that Gulf of Alaska troughing. As you can see, it's there on both the European and the GFS. So there's a little bit of confidence to that, looking at 150 hours out, but a lot needs to be worked out in these details before we start getting too excited about some of these systems rolling into the area here. But something to watch for sure. This is Tillamook. Check out this system as it rolls in. You could get some 40 mile per hour gusts here as we go on in through Tuesday. It looks like Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night. And then you take a look out into Fantasyland. You can see some of those big wind speeds showing up. And ensemble member number 10 had a 74 mile per hour gust there, way off into Fantasyland for Tillamook, just entertainment purposes only. But let's take a look at that low pressure center there. This would be October 18th. And look at this just humongous storm just wants to roll right into the northern tip of Vancouver Island, 956 millibar low. This would be an incredible storm. It would be a widespread windstorm here across Pacific Northwest. But again, we're just having fun today. This is just purely fantasy forecast. As you can see, this 966 millibar low over the interior of British Columbia there. Now looking at Quilly, you can kind of see some of these bigger windstorms starting to show up here in the extended run here, but it's pretty scattered and some of the ensembles don't have anything. However, the system moving through on the day Tuesday night does have some gusts up towards 50 miles per hour for some of the Washington coast there. Whistler, I wanted to point this out as well. That ensemble member number 10 had some extreme gusts up there, 145 kilometers per hour. Just something interesting there, purely fantasy right now. This is Quilliot, though. Check out this secondary system there. As I mentioned, big precipitation maker. The control run showing 2 inches by the time you get towards Wednesday during the day along some of the Washington coast. And then you can see that storm track still pointed at the Pacific Northwest out here through the extended forecast. Tillamook, over 2 inches in a 24-hour period. Big precipitation maker for a lot of the Washington, Oregon coast, the coastal ranges, some of the Cascades as well. Much needed precipitation. This is going to be glorious coming through here, you guys. And this is the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook through October 18th. You can see the above average signal for much Washington, Oregon, and some of Northern California there as well. That would include British Columbia. Here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This is all the way through October 18th as well. And kind of with that southwest flow here, we're expecting things to be above normal here as we go to the mid portion of October. And again, the vegetation drought response index, I've shown this the last couple of days as well. Very dry here across the state of Oregon. So this is going to be very beneficial rain here rolling in here through the day Wednesday Wednesday. Same thing with Washington as well. And hopefully we can continue those systems into the area and just start to kill this drought. It's going to take the trees. There's a lot of stressed trees out there, so it's going to take that a long time, and some of them may just outright die. So there may be no saving some of that, but at least we can get an end to the drought here maybe as we go on into the fall months. But no promises on that front also. Looking at a quick eclipse forecast that we're going to do daily here, an annular solar eclipse. The sun will not be completely blocked out by the moon. You're going to see a ring of fire around it, so it's not going to be as great as a complete solar eclipse. But you can see that system here as you go through the 14th. It's going to have a cloud shield with it here. So your better chances are going to be across some of northeast Nevada, most likely. The GFS a little bit weaker with that system, a little bit further off to the west here as well. But again, Nevada, climatologically speaking, is just going to be a better chance to see this eclipse. And you can kind of see that cloud cover there kind of showing up a little bit better. Some clear skies across some of Nevada as that system tries to roll in here. But anyway, yeah, interesting stuff coming up in the extended forecast. It's that time of year, folks. You get this troughing out over the Gulf of Alaska. You can get some really interesting storms up into the Pacific Northwest here. So we'll watch that over the next few days. Still a fantasy forecast here, but I just couldn't help myself after seeing that 06Z GFS run to go ahead and look at some of those fantasy forecasts. But anyway, we'll continue to do these briefings daily. We'll talk again tomorrow, and I'm going to be putting all the California Weather Watch briefings on the other page now. So make sure to go there if you want to find out what's going on across the southwest portion of the USA. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.